I remember walking the banks of the Seine briskly before dawn, meditating on the color of water by torchlight, taking in the approaching outline of the gargoyles of Notre Dame, the faintest smell of newly lit wood-fired stoves, the slim ombre of sunrise over the roofs of Paris like the crust of the freshly baked bread I'd soon consume. Now I walk on sunset, lit by neon ads so grand they scream to be ignored, meditation by dissociation, my nostrils numbed. I prefer the clean stench of gasoline, burnt rubber. The romance here is desperate, the energy pirate-like, albeit with less camaraderie and much less wet. The boy, like the many young disenfranchised, possibly thrown out of their own home for their natural diversions by parents too challenged by the atrocious layerings of life, insisted for my attention outside one of these design disasters of a music venue. I grabbed two roughnecks by their scruff and flung them halfway into traffic, where a passing car miraculously stopped for them to skip into and drive off. The boy was coughing blood and might have had a broken rib or two, and had I not just come from a meeting, I might not have brought him to my place to give him succor. He had only a backpack with a computer, a few clothes, and a red umbrella which I toted as he compulsively sucked on a vaporizer as we walked.
That was incredible. You some kind of Olympic wrestler or something? MMA? Nah.
He coughed up blood. I took his vaporizer away and snapped it between my two fingers. He looked aghast. I, too, surprised myself at my conviction, but beneath my gaze, he relented.
Hey, whatever. Only my only painkiller, but you're probably right, dangling. I'm really in a lot of pain, I realize.
So there in the spare bedroom overlooking the lights of the Strip instead of the rooftops of Paris, he made his recovery. I was not overly conscious of my need to tend to someone until it was too late. He was full of surprises, this young one, full of secrets too, perhaps, but he gave me just enough assurance with each passing day to let me trust him. There was something familiar about him, like a chord struck long ago, only echoing against a new modern surface. He played a little guitar, but mostly those first days he was fascinated by my collection of electrics. He spent hours tuning them as sonically perfect as he could, recording them into his computer and comparing frequencies or something. Did I know Slash? How about Brian May? Sure, a little. I told him truthfully, wanting to expand that they weren't half as edgy as Beethoven, as surly as Debussy. He took occasional walks with me at night, but otherwise seemed content at my place, possibly a little paranoid when a delivery man stopped by. I could not help thinking he was escaping something more than he could say. The mystery perhaps had me keep him around at first, but then I realized I grew comfortable and even liked the company. He knew art a little as well, recognizing my Pollocks and Kandinsky immediately, some stray Degas and Toulouse-Lautrec sketches with very little hesitation. I would have let him take to the streets with whatever he could carry, but I also knew he knew it wouldn't be that easy.
Who's this one by? I don't know the artist.
The portrait of Agatha held a covert position in my kitchen, where it could be shielded the most by direct light. As opposed to my more valuable items, I kept it in a cheap frame so as to deter any possible vandals, with several GPS trackers embedded inside.
Neto Vicious. Funny name.
Yes, I said.
Anything about him?
No, afraid not. Did a Google and all that.
Maybe I could find something more. I'm pretty good at that.
I said.
She's pretty. I guess you don't know anything about the subject either.
Nope, I said, watching the boy closely as he looked into Agatha's eyes. His blue eyes seemed to scintillate by the dust particles in the beamlit light. He said. Occasionally I felt the need to go out and the boy would come along. We always walked, finding food trucks and eating by lamplight. We looked like an aged stuntman and his disappointing DJ son or something. I don't mind Hollywood Boulevard and its jittery qualities, the glittering Star Walk, and the decrepitude reminds me of the darkness of years gone past. But he would prefer to go down the fancy part of Melrose and window shop at night, asking me what I thought of expensive furniture. Somehow I found myself answering him, surprising even myself that I had more personality than I'd ever known. It just took this long for someone eager to ask me these kinds of banal questions. One time he asked me what I thought of an egg-shaped settee upholstered in a cowhide, and I answered quizzically, even to me, that I wouldn't want to bleed on it, which sent him into a fit of giggles, doubled over until I just had to walk away from him a bit embarrassed, but also deep down slightly amused. One night we caught a screening of Kubrick's 2001 in Cinerama at the ArcLight, which he hadn't seen, and I hadn't seen since it came out. Afterwards, he looked on the verge of wanting to confess something to me. Instead, he asked,
Do you think someone 100,000 years ago would have liked watching that?
Probably not if it's the first movie they ever watch.
I don't know. I know what you mean, but I think some things are so good they're timeless, you know? We have all this art from the past to enjoy, but no one from the past can enjoy the future, you know? Seems unfair.
The night was crisp as we walked home. Sharing these last few weeks with the boy had made me meditate on gratitude a little more, something my latest sponsor was harping on about. I do sometimes make little lists in my head. Tearing the crust off a warm piece of French bread by the dim light of dawn. Bathing by moonlight in the crescent bay of St. Sebastian. Traipsing through the Scottish Highlands during a thunderstorm. Surrendering to the energy of the Amazon forest under a kaleidoscope of butterflies. The sound of a strat in counterpoint to a burning fire. And, well, you know. One last thing. It came to me the other day that perhaps the most profound pain, the original hurt, the source of so many of the world's calamities is simply this: loneliness. Yes, perhaps it is couched in cruelty, traumatic injury, and all that. But the core of every little demonic seed is simply an excommunication from a larger world, a Luciferian origin story. And that world may be encompassed in living with or without a single person. Sometimes after it's rained in Los Angeles a rarity, I'm reminded there is a cosmos up there, and I wonder why I haven't simply drifted off into the abyss these many years. How simple it could be. But then I'm also reminded not only of Agatha, but of the evidence she presented to me of that other force, far more supernatural than I would have expected. That of connection. Something still new to me, but worth investigation. A magic much more potent than I ever could have known. Softly now, something massive has changed. This feeling usually makes me feel in danger. But perhaps it is only like Agatha taught me, only the uncovering of a vulnerability. Anyway, we shall see.